Welcome back to the Power and Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Vanessa Soul. Thank you so much for joining me here. And most importantly, thank you so much for investing your time, your energy, and your attention into tuning into today's episode. I greatly appreciate it. Today is about understanding the 12 houses of the astrology chart. It is so important because your rising sign, your ascendant sign, sets up the placements of the whole entire chart. And there are 12 houses. And think of the houses as like an actual location of your life. Literally, when we refer to a house, we are looking at, okay, what area of life is this thing happening in? Right? So that's why it's important. So if you have been dabbling in astrology, if you've been curious, maybe you've gotten some sessions from either myself or another fantastic astrologer, and they kept mentioning the houses like, whoa, you have a big shocking surprise happening in your sixth house. And you're like, what, sixth house? What? So sixth house means health, your physical body, your daily habits, etc., etc. We will go through the meanings, significations of all 12 houses in chronological order. So that way, the next time you hop on an astrology session with me, you have a deeper understanding of which house we're talking about and all the different things that it can include. Now, I will say this. It is the astrologer's job to hone in on one or two significations of the houses. So keep in mind, all 12 houses have many different significations. They have many different themes. For instance, the fifth house has 10 plus themes or even 20 themes. So all 12 houses have multiple themes. For instance, the fifth house has 10 themes, 20 themes. And if we go into ancient astrology, it will give us a list of 100 themes, I'm guessing. I might be exaggerating, but so many different significations. So astrology can get nuanced, it can get complex, it can get detailed. But we're not going to go into all of the complexity today. This is a very beginner friendly episode. And this episode is perfect for someone who's just curious about astrology, or again, you might already be receiving astrology guidance from me. You might be one of my clients, or you might be working with another astrologer, or maybe you're dabbling into other YouTube videos and you're like, oh, I just watched a video on Uranus going into Gemini, and that's happening in my fourth house, and you're like, I kind of understood what was happening, but I didn't really fully understand because I don't know much about the fourth house. So, a video like this, where I go through all 12 houses, and this is a series on my podcast. If you're tuning in, you were like, wait, this is the Power and Purpose podcast. Yes. I forgot to mention at the beginning that I started a new series, astrology series on the Power and Purpose podcast. Every Thursday is an astrology themed episode. Most of them are solo, but last week on Thursday for our astrology episode, we had a guest, but most of them, it's just me. Again, quick reminder, the way to think about the houses is it's where is something happening in someone's life. When an astrologer is giving insight, or they're making a general prediction, or they're giving a specific prediction, we're telling someone how something is happening, why it might be happening, and then also where it might be happening. The where it's happening is the area of life. That's where we look at the house. Let's jump into the 12 houses. The first house is about identity and incarnation. So this includes yourself, your physical body, your appearance, your personality, your vitality, your identity, your first impressions, how people see you, your independence, your life direction, and how you initiate and how you execute. So if you got feedback from an astrologer, if you got some insight where they were saying like, wow, you might you might be experiencing some challenge because of XYZ, right? They're reading a sign and maybe they're reading a planet. They're explaining something that's happening with a sign, something that's happening with a planet, and they're telling you, well, this is going to be happening in your first house. Now you know where in your life it's going to show up. It's going to show up maybe in your physical body with your identity, how people see you, your life direction, your first impression, your vitality, things like that. So if they're like, wow, you might be having some challenge in your first house, you're now you can think, okay, that means I might be having challenge with my identity this month. I might be having a challenge with my vitality this month. That's how you could receive the information. And of course, if you're in a one-on-one astrology session, they're going to give you more info on what the challenge is, how it might be playing out, what planet is impacting it, what aspects. They'll go deeper into all the complex interpretation. The astrologer will give you that. That is their job. But again, it's just good for you to know what the house means. Just to wrap up, the first house is incarnation, it's embodiment, it's your life force energy, it is you. And I'll add this, it's your early life, how you were birthed into the world. What was happening during your birth, during your infancy stage. Now, moving on to the second house. The second house is all about value and resources. So, this is about money, income, possessions, self worth, stability, survival, material security, talent, skills, values, personal resources. So, again, if you are receiving some insight, whether it's online, you might be getting a general insight, you might be getting personal insight, and someone saying, wow, Jupiter is in your second house. You're going to have a lot of opportunity in your second house. They're telling you what area of life, right? Second house means you might have opportunity with your money. You might have more opportunity with your income, with your possessions. You might be buying a new home. You might be buying a new car. Or if I'm going to stick with the same example, if they're saying Jupiter is in your second house, you might feel like you are abundant with your self-worth, like your self-worth is expanding, or your stability is your expanding, or you finally feel like you're thriving and you're not just surviving, okay? Or your skills are expanding, or your values are expanding. That's a good way to receive an interpretation that might be focusing on your second house. So, again, just to wrap up the second house, it's your livelihood, it's whatever supports you in life, it's your resources. Now, going into the third house, this is all about communication and environment. This includes writing, learning, siblings, your local community, your neighborhood, your daily movements, short trips, your mindset, how you think, how your thought patterns, social media, information exchange. Now, this is a basic list. Quick note, in business astrology, there's a whole nother significations that we would give to the third house. Same thing with all 12 houses. They would have a whole nother list of representations when I'm doing business and career astrology readings. But this is just basic, general life stuff. If I was just doing a general reading for someone around the third house, and I'm just going to use an example interpretation. Let's just say, hey, Mars is traveling through your third house this month. There might be some conflict. There might be some things unraveling. You also might feel assertive, things like that, or you might feel like you have more drive, but you're like, well, how or where? The how is the sign that it's happening in. So that depends on what sign your third house is in. We're not going to go through that today, but we're focusing on where in my life is this impacting me. Okay, Vanessa said I have Mars going through my third house, and she said I might feel really ambitious or assertive, or some things might fall apart. Mars might cut and sever some things from my life. What might that look like? Well, maybe that can look like a writing project kind of falling apart, or you feeling really ambitious about a writing project. Now, of course, again, the astrologer is going to tell you which direction. It's not like there's other aspects where we're going to kind of really tell you if this is a positive thing, a neutral thing, or a negative thing. Right now, I'm just kind of giving you like the full gamut of possibility when we're giving insight about a house, right? So going back to that example, if I'm saying Mars is going through your third house, it could, and let's just say you're having Mars going through your third house. Third house is also siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins. Maybe you're going through a conflict with a cousin. Maybe you're going through a conflict with a sibling, a brother, a stepbrother, a cousin, aunts, uncles, like extended family or neighbors. You could be having a feud with your neighbors if Mars is going through your third house. Short distance trips, daily movements, also, with Mars is like a fast energy. It's kind of like really ambitious. So like maybe you're just feeling really ambitious to go, run a bunch of errands that particular month. You're like, wow, I ran all of my errands. Normally I'm just at home, but I just felt the need to like run errand after errand after errand, or take a short trip here, or go do this, and just really feeling busy. So those are some examples, or with social media, or putting out like communication. You might feel really ambitious to be on social media that particular month, or start to publish blogs, or do a lot of guest podcasts. It's so funny when guests come on my podcast. Sometimes, just for fun, before we start recording, I'll look at their chart, and it's so funny because some of them, when they tell me that not only are they coming onto my podcast, but that they have like five other podcasts booked that month, I could see that Mars is traveling through their third house, and I'm like, oh, of course, you're feeling more ambitious to communicate this month. You're feeling more inspired to be on podcast and get your message out there. All right. So that's a good example. So just to wrap up the third house, it's all about being the messenger, neighborhood, your neighbors, daily movement, and your mindset, your thoughts, your intelligence. Now going into the fourth house. The fourth house is deep, and it's one of I don't know if it's my favorite house. I will say it's the house I can never get away from. Because I have like four different placements in the fourth house. So, yeah, it's not a favorite because it's probably been the biggest challenge for me, but I know it really, really well. So, fourth house is all about roots and foundation. That's the general gist of it. Now, I'm going to go down a list of things that will give you some more detail. So, the fourth house is your physical home, it's your family, it's your childhood, it's your emotions, your emotional state. Whether you're feeling like you're an emotional wreck or whether you're feeling like you're emotionally stable, it's your emotions. It's also your ancestors and ancestral gifts, ancestral challenges, ancestral traumas, things that you might need to heal on behalf of your ancestral line and your lineage. It's also about your private life, like things that you do in your private life. Like you might be a very private person if you have a lot of planets in your natal chart like me. People think I'm so outgoing just because I guess I have that look. Well, I'm a Leo rising, so of course it looks like I'm an extrovert. It looks like I want to be seen 24/7. But honestly, with four placements in my fourth house, I just want to be at home all day. So I just want to be in my private life, right? And so private life is a big thing. And also the fourth house, when it comes to privacy, it's like, who are you becoming when no one else is looking? That's a big thing in the fourth house. Like, what are you doing with your private time? Are you kind of just like letting it pass by, and are you scrolling on your phone? Or are you building self mastery during your private moments? Who are you when no one else is around? Fourth house is also real estate. If you've been listening to my channel, you know that I did real estate for 7 years, and people always ask me like, how, like, what made me go to school for politics and get a master's degree, well, bachelor's degree in political science, master's degree in government and politics, and spend all that money and then work for Congress. And then one day I woke up, gave it all away, and went into real estate. And they're like, "Well, how did that how did that happen?" I never really know. I'm kind of like, I don't know. But looking at my chart, I have four placements in my fourth house, and the fourth house is all about home, right? So selling homes, and being so in as a first year real estate agent, I just felt so lucky. Like I was cold calling, and yeah, some people were yelling at me, and then a lot of people just signed a contract with me or booked an appointment and hired me on as their listing agent. And next thing you know, my first year in real estate, I did really, really well. And then I just kept that going for my second year in real estate and third year in real estate and so on. So real estate can also be the fourth house. And it doesn't mean you have to be a real estate agent. If you have stuff happening in your fourth house, it could, again, depending on the interpretation that the astrologer is giving you or what's happening, it could just involve real estate in general, right? Or moving, maybe you're moving homes, things like that. All right, fourth house is also your inner world. I know I said emotions, but just like your subconscious mind. Your 12th house is also your subconscious mind, but so is your fourth house because it has so much to do with your childhood. Like what was your development between ages 1 through 7? Last couple things, your fourth house is also your mother and family lineage and your sense of security. So it's really important. So again, if you're getting some type of insight and someone is saying, well, you have Venus transiting through your fourth house this month or for this period of time, and so Venus represents like love and romance and just like enjoyment and pleasure. So that means you might find a lot of pleasure being at home during that transit. You might get a lot more pleasure than usual just being with friends and family, or looking at childhood photos, or being in your private life. Right? Or spending time with your mom, like all the things that I just listed as fourth house representations. So that's just an example, very, very basic example on how on how you might receive an interpretation around the fourth house. So now you know what those significations are. And again, just a reminder, there's so much more to the fourth house, to all these houses. I just wanted to pick out like the like top 10 for each house because I don't want to overwhelm anyone, but I also want you to have enough information to feel like, okay, when we're in session together or when you're speaking with someone else about astrology and they're talking about a house, you know enough. You're like, okay, fourth house, fourth house. Oh yeah, that's the home. That's a house. Like that's my home. Like, or that's my family life, or that's my childhood. You can easily start to match up what it means. Again, where in your life is something is happening. Okay. Wrapping up the fourth house. This is the underground, the root of your life, land, inheritance, and it could also be endings as well. Now let's talk about the fifth house. The general vibe here is all about creation and expression. And I'm going to break it down and give you some more detail about what the fifth house represents. It represents creativity, pleasure, romance, joy, art, performance, kids, children, whether it's your kids or not. Whether you're a teacher, if you're a teacher, you might have placements here because you're dealing with kids. um, Passion projects, self-expression, sexuality, play, tapping into your inner child, entrepreneurship, taking risk, creative projects, hobbies, leisure time, like, self-care. So if you have, for instance, the example I'm going to give for this particular house is I have Saturn and also Uranus, but Saturn in my fifth house in my natal chart. So it's not a transit for me, it's in my natal chart. It's with me the whole time. So, and Saturn can bring some challenge. We have to work through our Saturn placement. So, earlier in life I felt very challenged with creativity. I felt very challenged with dating in high school and in college. I just things just felt hard in the fifth area of my life. Also, just taking time for self-care, doing self-care. Self-care is still hard for me. It's hard. It's hard, you guys. I am still struggling with self-care. Like just yesterday, one of my advisors was like, "Hey, I know you're doing self-care, but you need to do more self-care." And I'm like, "Really? Really? I have to make more time for self-care? It's that hard for me." And I'm not blaming my Saturn placement because I'm responsible and I have self-awareness around Saturn being in my fifth house. And I'm still working through my Saturn placement, but yeah, hobbies, self-care, retirement, having adventure, going on trips, doing fun things. Sports would also fall in the fifth house. Um, so all of those things are fifth house themes. So I gave you an example on like my Saturn going through the fifth house, but like let's relate this to you, right? So if you're chatting with a friend and they mention to you like, oh, you have Jupiter going through your fifth house right now. So that means, and Jupiter is abundance, it's opportunity, it's money, wealth, protection. It's about being lucky. It's about miracles happening. And it's about things, kind of like excess, overindulging, having too much fun in the fifth house, having, going out and partying too much. If you have Jupiter in the fifth house, that's something you might want to watch out for. So if you have a friend who's telling you, hey, you have Jupiter in the fifth house, you could think like, okay, you're going to have the opportunity to have a lot of pleasure, a lot of romance, a lot of sexual experiences, or a lot of time. You might have more time with your kids. Or again, you might have, there might be excess indulgence in leisure time, or you're spending too much time on hobbies, too much time traveling. If you go overboard, that's more of a Jupiter theme, right? But at least you know that the fifth house interacting with the fifth house, it's all of those things that I mentioned: creativity, entrepreneurship. Oh, if you have Jupiter going through your fifth house and you're an entrepreneur, that is a time for you to expand your business. Okay, now there's more to the reading that we need to look at because we need to see what aspects are happening and what other placements are happening around it. But that's just a quick tip. All right, so just to wrap up, the fifth house is all about celebration, fertility, artistic creation, and divine inspiration. Now let's talk about the sixth house. What does the sixth house mean? So, in general, just think about it as it's all about work and responsibility on the most basic and general level. Now, I'm going to go through a list of things to give you some more detail. Sixth house is daily routines, like what you're doing every morning, what you're doing every evening, or lack of routine, really. It's also about your health. It's also about discipline, service, habits, employees and coworkers. And that's really big in business astrology. When I'm doing a business reading and someone's like, oh my God, all my employees are quitting on me, I go immediately to their sixth house to see what's going on. The sixth house is also productivity. It's also your nervous system. A lot of astrologers aren't talking about that one these days. I don't know why, but it's also your nervous system. It's your physical maintenance and it's your skill refinement. And if you remember, the first house is also about your physical body and your vitality. And then, your sixth house kind of overlaps with that. It is your health, it is your physical body, it is your daily habits, working out, exercising, looking great or not, like whatever the thing is, eating habits, those types of things. Like we said, productivity. So let's see, what's an example here? So if you're speaking with a friend or an astrologer, or if you're in a session with me, and I might say something like, hey, Saturn is transiting your sixth house for 2 years, because Saturn is typically a 2-year transit. That means that you're going to be encouraged to get really serious about your daily habits. You're going to really have to become disciplined with your physical health, with what you're eating, with what you're not eating, with what you're cutting out of your diet, with what you're eliminating. There's going to be like some challenge and some lesson. That's what Saturn brings. Again, Saturn has his own set of themes, and now it's impacting an area of life. If we are, if the astrologer, or if the person is telling that your friend or whoever is telling you that Saturn is going through your sixth house. All right. So you can automatically kind of think like, man, okay, this is an area of life where I need to get focused. I need to lock in on my sixth house, which is health, diet, routine, working out, habits, productivity, work-life balance, your nervous system. You get the gist. So just to wrap up, it's labor, it's illness lives there in the sixth house, and obligation can be there. And also, I'll just add in, it can also be like past life karma as well. And debt. I'll add that in. That's not something that comes up in basic readings, but it's a deeper representation that I just wanted to add in. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the seventh house. In general, the seventh house is all about relationships and mirrors. And it's really the house of the other. So, on a basic level, just think of the seventh house as relationships, mirrors, and the house of the other person. All right. So, now I'm going to go through a list of detailed representations so you can get more of an idea. So, that would mean marriages, partnerships, soulmateships, situationships, flings. I guess a fling could be more fifth house. But if that fling is kind of turning into a situationship, it could be like a seventh house thing too. Your clients. So if you're in a type of work that where you have clients, or you are the client, that's where this would fall. Also, contracts, collaborating with people, teamwork is also seventh house. Conflict is seventh house. Projection is seventh house. Business relationships is here in the seventh house. Open enemies and commitment. So I have Mars here in the seventh house. I have always had just open enemies, like just people that just don't like me, you know? And I'm just like, thank God my chart explained it, because I'm just like, oh, okay, that's fantastic. Right? Like it just doesn't bother me. It's just the blueprint of my chart. A lot of lawyers have, because the seventh house can be like it's contracts, it's conflict. I've seen like a lot of lawyers have that are in litigation have Mars in the seventh house, or things like that, or Saturn in the seventh house, things like that. Let's see, commitment, the other person. It could also be like an idle waiting period. So if you have you might receive insight from an astrologer at some point in time, like, hey, this is a time for you just to kind of wait for the next thing to come through. They might be looking into your seventh house if it applies. So just to kind of wrap up, the seventh house is alliances, negotiations, agreements, and it's your opponents. The eighth house, this is a deep house. So on the basic level, think of the eighth house as depth and transformation. And, a lot of people get a little confused with the eighth house, because it's a lot of psychological stuff, and then it's like a lot of money blended into it too. And you'll see why when I just start going down this list. So, eighth house is shared resources, it's intimacy, it's death, rebirth, psychology, trauma healing, it's taxes, inheritances, investments, power dynamics, it's spiritual transformation, anything of the occult, it's passive income, it's crypto, any big chunks of money that would come your way. Like recently, I had a client, she had a really positive aspect going through her eighth house. And normally I would say, hey, you would have an inheritance coming through. But because I knew more about this particular client, I knew that that wasn't really a probability for her. But I was telling her, like, hey, you have a big chunk of money that's coming through. And knowing more about her situation, she ended up getting like a big chunk of money from government assistance because she was on disability. So it ended up being like a $20,000 check that she really needed because of the situation with her disability. But this is where I was able to kind of this house, right? What is where I was looking at aspects, and it's where I was looking to see like what was going on, to go ahead and give her that insight. So again, it's a lot of money. Like I said, it's a lot of money stuff, and it's also debt. So, depending on what you have going on here in your natal chart, you could be a person who has a lot of debt or a lot of inheritance money, or just or maybe you aren't. Maybe your spouse, your marriage partner, um, manages all the money, or they are really abundant and you don't really have to worry about it because of whatever placements you might have in the eighth house. And then certain transits through the eighth house can bring certain experiences as well, like the client that I was just mentioning. She had the north node going through the eighth house, which is a year and a half transit. So it's not a quick one, but there was a certain time period that we were able to kind of narrow down like, okay, your north node being in the eighth house, you are about to get a big chunk of money. And we knew it wasn't going to come from a rich uncle or inheritances. We knew she wasn't going to get a big tax rebate. And she doesn't play the lottery, so we knew it wasn't going to be a lottery win or anything like that. So we were able to kind of like narrow it down to a disability check coming in. Okay. So let's see. And then I will say I have another client who did get like a big tax rebate. And this person also had the North Node going through the eighth house. So it's not just the North Node that's always going to bring money in through the eighth house. There's other planets. Again, all of the planets and asteroids and the nodes have different agendas, different themes happening. Again, with these houses, we're just focusing on, okay, where is this happening in my life? And the North Node, because I mentioned it, the North Node is telling us to lean into this area of life. And it's a challenge for some people to lean into this area of life where the North Node is. But where the North Node is transiting, it's also it's giving you something so that you can go deeper into your purpose. Wrapping up the eighth house, like I said, death, mortality, other people's resources, money that you don't earn from your daily income. And then it could also be about fear, surrender. And then I'm going to add in addictions. It could be addictions too. And I keep wanting to add in some other things. You know, if you have any children listening to this, turn down the volume for a second. Sex work can also fall into this area. If you guys know my history, a big part of my healing journey was healing through the sex work that I did. And I have some placements in my eighth house that kind of makes sense, right? So, again, the eighth house is like, it's just a deep, dark house. It's transformation, it's money, it could be addiction, it could be all the things. But don't look at it so negative. It could bring a lot of blessings depending on what's happening. So you could turn the volume back up now, if you have children in the car with you. So ninth house is wisdom and expansion. That's the basics. All right. I'm going to list a whole bunch of other things about the ninth house, but remember the ninth house is wisdom and expansion. It's also higher learning, it's philosophy, it's spirituality, it's religion, it's teaching, being a professor, or even outside of the formal teaching scope. So it's not just teaching as a professor, it's like teaching a course or teaching some type of higher learning. It's also traveling internationally. It's also your belief systems and your perspectives. It's also about seeking out truths. It's about politics and law, and it's about mentorship. It's also the house of God, prophecy, astrology, book publishing. It's also the house of changing the generational wealth for your family in either direction. You could be the first person in your family to receive billions, or you could be the first person in your family to go the other direction. Right, so wrapping up the eighth house is it's all about divine knowledge, prophecy, higher wisdom, pilgrimage, just like traveling, exploring life, exploring the world, exploring your mind, exploring your beliefs, that kind of thing. The 10th house is career and legacy on the most basic level. So before I list out everything, just go back to career and legacy is the 10th house. Now let's go into the list. So it's what you're doing for your career, it's public image, it's your reputation, it's leadership, it's authority, your accomplishments, your goals, your visibility, business success or lack thereof. It's your legacy and recognition. Some of the things in the 10th house can overlap with the first house, because the first house is also about visibility and how you present yourself and branding and things like that. Also, the 10th house is about men's work and masculinity. Um, there's so much behind the 10th house. Just really focusing on your goals, and your purpose. It's what you become known for. I know I said legacy, but it's like it's it's the authority that you hold. Like, some people can have one career, but they become known for something completely different. So just keep that in mind. So just to wrap up, the 10th house is about status, rulership, public standing, and achievement. So, I realized I forgot. I was giving a lot of examples about insights and interpretations for the beginning houses, and I think I skipped a couple. So let me give one for the 10th house. Let's see. So if let's just say I'm giving you insight on the 10th house, and I'm saying, let's see, what planet can we use here? What planet? I've used Jupiter already. I've used Saturn. Let's say Mercury. So if you have Mercury coming through your 10th house, this is a time for you to really communicate publicly. And Mercury is a quick transit. So this can be a time where you'll feel like there's more opportunity for you to do public speaking or to speak about your authority, like if you're whatever your authority is, whatever your skill set is, or speak publicly. Really create a legacy around a message that you have when Mercury is going through here. And then also Mercury represents cells. So you could be, going into a career that is all about cells or communication, things like that. And don't worry about the interpretation. That's the astrologer's job. If you just focus on what the representations are for each house, you can actually ask the astrologer questions like, hey, you said Mercury's going through my 10th house. So what does that mean for my reputation this during this month? Or what does that mean for, my boss or what or the CEO of the company or whatever it might be, because those are also representations of the 10th house. All right, so wrapping it up, it's all about status, rulership, public standing, and achievement. The 11th house, on a basic level, remember it's about community, friends, and future vision. Community, friends, and future vision. So, friendships, your networks, your audience, your communities, whether they're small communities, whether they're online communities, whether they're physical communities. It's also about social impact. It's also about humanitarianism, technology, innovation, collective goals, your long term dreams. It's also about collaborating. It's also about support systems and benefactors and alliances and people who just like show up to help you with something. Um, I love the 11th house because I have really strong placements here. Um, Probably every successful thing that I've had in my life had something to do with the 11th house. So yeah, so let's see. Let me give you an example. So if you have something coming through, if you have a transit happening through the sun, if the sun is transiting through your 11th house, this would be a great time for you to network. Even if you're not the type of person where you don't like to go to the networking events, you don't like to go to the mixers, you rather just stay at home like I do. If the sun is transiting through the 11th house, go. You never in the sun is connected to like your soul purpose and your identity and where you're meant to shine and just inspiration and just like what you're meant to do with your life and things like that. So yeah, if the sun is transiting through your 11th house that month or that season is a really good time for you to meet new friends, network, join a community, join a mastermind. um I've had, yeah, I've had people where they had the sun or they had Pluto or they had some other planet, and I'm like, hey, you need to get into a mastermind. If or Jupiter. I've had someone have Jupiter here, and there was a couple other things going on their chart. I'm like, hey, you're feeling stuck because of XYZ. But with Jupiter here, if you get in this particular mastermind, or if whatever particular mastermind resonates with you, that's your ticket to expansion. The person did it and they're happily ever after. I mean, they're still in astrology sessions with me, and now we're working on other things because they got the benefit from that. So, to wrap up the 11th house, it's benefactors, alliances, hopes, and blessings from others, and it can also be the older sibling as well. All right. Take a breath because I'm probably talking fast because I got to get this done because I have a meeting coming up. So, 12th house. The 12th house is the unseen realm. You think of it as your subconscious mind. All right, that's on a basic level. Basic level. So it's your subconscious mind, it's spirituality. It could also be about isolation, healing, dreams, hidden patterns, anything repressed in your psyche, repressed memories, secrets, family, like any secrets from anywhere, not just family, but secrets that you might be keeping from yourself, like a repressed memory. That's a secret that you're keeping from yourself. Um, just yeah, things that are hidden or happening behind the scenes, hidden patterns, self-sabotage, self-undoing can happen here because that's a subconscious issue, right? If you're self-sabotaging, there's some type of belief in your subconscious mind that's fueling that. Retreating in the literal sense, like retreating from the world, and then also going to retreats or leading retreats. Compassion is here, shame is here, fear is here in this house. Ending something, coming to an end. So if you have like Jupiter happening through the 12th house, you probably have a lot of things that are ending. And Jupiter's a long transit, not long, it's like 1 year, but um depending on the situation, again, if you're talking to me, the astrologer, or any astrologer, we're going to do the interpretation for you, but just so you have this list, because it's not going to be that the transit like Mars coming through here or Jupiter coming through here is going to impact all of these things for you. One or two of these things in the 12th house is going to be more relevant for your life at this moment, right? So not everyone with Jupiter going through the 12th is going to have all of these things ending. And Jupiter is a benefic planet. So when I say that, I don't, and I have Jupiter going through my 12th house. I've had great things ending, but it's like completion, and it's opening up so much space for me to become a brand new person and do new things and just step into a new identity. And Jupiter will be in my first house soon, in about a month or so, and that's all going to be possible because Jupiter has been amplifying all the things that need to end in my life, in my current experience. Not that my life is ending, you guys get what I mean. The 12th house is also about surrendering. And let's see, what else am I missing? I've mentioned isolation. Oh, it could also be hidden enemies, addictions. I know I said the eighth house can be addictions, 12th house can be addictions too, because again, it's more associated with the self-undoing, self-sabotaging. But also on a higher note, the 12th house is transcendence and religion, like religion and spirituality. And again, that overlaps with the ninth house. The ninth house is religion, God, spirituality. So is the 12th house. All right, so I hope you are receiving this really, really well. Please let me know in the comments what house is the most interesting to you, even if you don't know what your placements are, just by listening to this podcast or this YouTube episode. If you were like, wow, that the eighth house was really intriguing, or the fourth house was really interesting, drop it in the comments. Let me know which house was the most interesting to you, whether you know about your placements there or not, and I will reply and to your comment. So here's a few things I just want to repeat before we wrap up. Remember that the signs in astrology show us how energy expresses. So the signs are like Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, and so on. Okay. We didn't go through the signs that much today. The planets tell us what energy is active. I was kind of using planets today as examples for the houses to show you, just to kind of illustrate how things could be playing out, but we didn't go deep into the planets. Maybe I'll do that in one of the future videos coming up. And then the houses is where the thing is manifesting in your life. Yes, the houses, and hopefully you can kind of like replay this episode if you need to, especially if you're new to astrology and you're feeling called, to kind of just like get more of a foundation before you book your next session with me, or before you watch another YouTube video on astrology, or before you go back to using your chat GPT for astrology. Make sure you have your own understanding of the houses. Okay, it's a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I would love to dive in and give you guidance and use astrology as the most powerful tool to help you increase your self-awareness, and that way you will be able to see where your opportunities are in real time and what's happening for you this month and in the next 3 months. So book an astrology session with me. My link is below. I have single sessions and I have packages, and I would love to help you out with that. So book below, and see you again in the next episode. Thanks for listening to the Power and Purpose podcast. Namaste and have a great day.